Sowing on the mountain, reaping in the valley,
Robert Jones and Matt Watroba have been making music for more than 30 years. The best friends perform everywhere from elementary schools to senior centers. For preschoolers and prisoners, it's music that matters.
We celebrate diversity. We celebrate this idea that America would not be the America that we know and love without all of the people, all of the cultures that feed into it.
And even though the program we do for kids as well as adults is all about the celebration of diversity, we never mention that word once because I think they see it. They see it in our 30-year friendship. They see it in our love for each other as friends over the years.
They celebrate diversity because they are diversity, black and white, from the inner city and the suburbs, but always striking a common chord in music.
There's something about the universal language of music that connects. It very rarely divides. It gets to the heart of what's real and what makes us alike.
And that commonality is at the heart of their nonprofit, Common Chords, and their programs like Music That Matters, taking kids and adults on a journey through history via some of America's most beloved music.
We shall overcome.
Like We Shall Overcome, a song that changed and traveled all over the world, starting as a black spiritual, becoming a union song, and then an anthem for the civil rights movement, and so many since.
Something about seeing 400 kids crossing arms and singing We Shall Overcome is a good feeling for us to see that carried on.
Utilizing the power of roots music has a lot to teach us about who we are and where we've come from.
The artists remind us that music has always sustained us through the best and worst of times. We use it to marry and to bury and all the moments in between. Robert was recently awarded a Kresge Fellowship. Matt was just inducted into the International Folk DJ Hall of Fame. And Common Chords is their passion.
The chord is a perfect metaphor because a chord means more than one note coming together in harmony.
Building bridges through art and music everywhere and hopefully inspiring other musicians along the way.
We've got to communicate to that audience, those little weird kids who we were, those little weird kids 30 years ago, that there's a place for you in American music.
If you're a musician, a young musician who loves playing their own songs at a coffee house, Robert and I will encourage them to put a school program together. Think about how you can bring this to seniors. Think about how you can take the music where it's needed most.
Because maybe it's music itself that matters most right now to remind us how much we truly have in common.
And that's why we're a good team.
I think so.
Yep.
Seemed like a pretty good team.
If my wife and me is fussing, mister, that's alright. Me and that sweet woman got a license to fight. Why don't you mind your own business? Is it mind your own business? If you mind your business, then you won't be minding mine. There's a lady on my party line, a nosy thing. She picks up the receiver when she knows it's my ring. Why don't you mind your own business? I said mind your own business. If you mind your business, then you won't be minding mine. Oh, play one, Robert.
When you listen to a song like Mind Your Own Business, the song we just played, it's amazing how you can hear the whole timeline of American music in that one song. And I'll show you what we mean. You can sometimes when we think of this music, we think of it as a tree. So if you imagine this huge tree out in the middle of the forest, and on this tree are all these different branches, and each branch is a different kind of American music. So there might be a rock and roll branch, there might be a rap branch, there could be a hip hop branch, country, classical, all the different genres of music. But what Robert and I have discovered in our friendship and in our time together over the last 3 decades is that if you trace those branches underneath the ground, at the root of American music, all those branches are related. Just like the people who brought their music to America hundreds of years ago. You can either fight about what makes it different, or you can celebrate the similarities. And so Robert and I want to celebrate the similarities. And let me just show you how similar some of this music is. Take that song we were just doing. It's an old country song, as I mentioned, by the great Hank Williams. But watch what happens if I take those same three guitar chords, the E major, the A major, and the B7. I'm going to play them in the same order, give them the same amount of time. The only change I'm going to make is to the tempo. So I'm going to slow it down. Same song, slowed down, and watch how magically another branch pops off that musical tree. You ready, Robert?
Let's try it.
Sing the old song. 'Cause if you mind your business, you sure won't be minding mine. And with that one little change, we have the blues. Well, what would happen if we switched instruments?
Well, let's try it.
Maybe take those same three guitar chords this time, rather than slowing them down, we'll make them go a little faster. And see if we can get yet another one of those branches to pop off the musical tree. And so all of a sudden you have this.
Way down in Louisiana, down in New Orleans, back up in the wood among the evergreens, stood an old cabin made of earth and wood, with a little boy named Johnny B. Good. Little boy can never read or write so well, but he can play the guitar just like the ring a bell. Go, go, Johnny, go, go, go.
So you can see that all of a sudden you can go from blues to country to rock and roll just simply by playing around with the tempo. And that's what makes American roots music so interesting to us, and why we've devoted the last, 3 decades of our lives trying to tell America's story, our story really, through this American roots. Because one of the things we discovered is that you wouldn't have American music if it wasn't for the sharing of this music between cultures. So what Robert and I would like to do for you over the next hour is just sort of uncover what we've learned about how American roots music tells our story, and how that we could even contribute occasionally to those branches. But to really show and tell this story, you have to go back in time a little bit. Right. So you can't, we could come right out and start with songs that...
If you like it, then you should have put a ring on it. If you like it, then you should have put... I love Beyonce, but that is frankly not our gift. What you got to do is go back to the roots of that tree that Matt was talking about. The roots don't change that quickly. The branches may change every 20 minutes, but the roots continue on. So when we go back in time to, say, 1845, and we'll change location, since we are literally all over the world right now, let's decide that we're in decide we're in Alabama, and it's a hot day. The windows and the doors are flung open to get a breeze through, a hot breeze through.
What year
That's
is
a
it?
Freudian slip. About 1845. So we are right before the start of the Civil War, in the midst of slavery and freedom and all those issues. And we hear this coming out of this old weather-beaten building with the doors and windows flung open.
Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, part of who we are as a culture that we forget that it's been around for over 100 years and that song has changed in so many ways. In fact, as you're listening to that song in that weather-beaten building, you realize that old building is a church. And if it wasn't for the kind of music being made and maybe more importantly preserved in churches back then, that's where our music comes from. Some people will tell you that music comes from the blues. The truth is it comes from the spirituals. It comes from those very early church songs. But the thing is, back in 1845, not all churches were the same. You could go 500 feet down the path and have a very different yet similar experience.
Right. Imagine, down the path, you've got a barn. And in that barn, you've got slaves or enslaved people who are singing their own song. And somehow, through the magic of music, the music changes a little bit. So this is what you hear coming out of the barn and what Frederick Douglass called the invisible church. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a wretch like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. Oh Lord, I see. Now, Matt and I go to a lot of schools, and sometimes we'll do both versions of that song and ask the kids if that's the same song, and they go, no. And the reason they don't get it is because that music sounds so different. But what is it that changes a song just a few feet down the road? Well, the fact is, when folks came off of ships like the Mayflower, they brought their songs, but they brought their scale, their way of understanding music. They brought this from Europe. But there are some folks who came over on ships like the Amistad, and they brought this. Starts on the same note and ends on the same note, but gets there in only 5 steps. A pentatonic scale, a minor pentatonic scale. And so that much of American music is that tension between the European and the African. But something else changes that song even more, and that's how you learn it. Imagine you had the song and you wrote it down so that you wouldn't lose it over time and distance. You wrote it in a hymnal, and folks sang, Amazing Grace. Your father sang, Amazing Grace. And you sang, Amazing Grace. And your son sang, Amazing Grace. And 7 generations later, your great-great-great-great-granddaughter joined the Glee Club, and she sings, Amazing Grace. Yeah, changes a little bit. But what happens in those places where you don't write it down, you pass it down? Your father used to sing, Amazing Grace. And when you heard him sing it, you said, Daddy, it ain't fancy enough. You sung, Amazing Grace. Now, little did you know your son was going to fall in love with that pretty girl from Kentucky. When she sings The Baby's Asleep, she's been known to sing, Amazing Grace. And then, 7 generations later, your great-great-great-great-granddaughter, Aretha, goes to Washington, puts on a really cool hat, and she sings, Amazing Grace. That's just 2 words. So 20 minutes later, not only have you heard Amazing Grace, but you've experienced the folk process because that song keeps changing depending on the people who are doing the singing and the need and the mood and the feeling that they bring to the song.
And that, folks, is the most important distinction you can make between people's music and all the other music. You know, when Beethoven wrote, the Fifth Symphony, he wrote that down with very few variations. It's, pretty much remained the same tune over the years. But this music was meant to be changed and adapted. So those spirituals could quickly change and become songs for the Underground Railroad. 100 years later, those same songs could be quickly changed to become songs for the Civil Rights Movement.
All right, we're going to teach you all about 20th century American music in 9 minutes.
All right.
If you have a seatbelt on your chair, you might want to fasten it, right?
It's a dirty job, somebody's got to do it. So first of all, we're going to start off with the blues because that's the spine of that tree that we're talking. That's the trunk of the tree. And you get guys like the great Son House down in Coleman County, Mississippi. And he's using 3 chords. And he's using 5 notes. And with those 5 notes and those 3 chords, you come up with the Delta Blues. Songs like, I got a letter this morning, how do you? Ring, good hurry, close. Yeah, your love is dead. Got a letter this morning. All alone, I ain't ringing red. Say, hurry, close the yeah, your love is dead. You know, Son House was pretty cool, and his influence started to spread to the cities. So you got those piano players who took those 5 notes and turned it into boogie woogie. With the left hand they played. With the right hand they played 3 chords. Won't you hand me down my jumper? Won't you hand my overalls? Won't you hand me down my jumper? Won't you hand my overalls? Well, I'm about to catch a train, one they call a cannonball. And that was hot stuff in the 20s. But by the time the 1930s rolled around, America was in a Great Depression. And a lot of those piano players ended up in black churches, playing boogie woogie, much to the chagrin of the pastor. They didn't call it church boogie woogie though, called it gospel. Well, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, yeah. This little light of mine, I know it, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, Lord, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Help us out. Well, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, Lord, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. But the secret is those are the same 3 chords and the same 5 notes. Until we moved to like 1935, you get a young man by the name of Bill Monroe, who invents something called bluegrass. One of the most un-Negro kind of musics you can imagine. 5 white guys wearing cowboy hats standing around a microphone saying, "Yee-haw." But there's a guy named Lester Flatt, and Lester Flatt played the G-run in the middle of those verses. Would you demonstrate the G-run?
Sure, you've heard it in every bluegrass song. At the end of at every phrase, the guitar player tips his hat, looks up, and goes.
That's nice. Play that again. That's so pretty. You know that's just played with a flat pick. So you end up with a song like, I'm going down the road feeling bad, Lord, I'm going down the road feeling bad. I'm going down the road feeling bad, Lord, Lord, now you're gonna be treated this way. Same 3 chords, same 5 notes. Imagine it's 1948 and you got a young man by the name of Ray Charles. not to be confused with Jamie Foxx. And Ray Charles has a band, and they run out of songs about 60 years ago, and Ray said, "That's all right, baby, and just sing back the thing that I'll sing to you." So you guys are in the band, sing back to us what we sing to you. Are you ready? Say, hey, hey, oh, oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, hey, oh. Tell me what I say. 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 Let's try it again. Say, I say those are the same 3 chords and the same 5 notes. We call it R&B. It's 1955. You got a gigantic television in the middle of your living room with a little tiny screen. And it only gets 3 stations. That means everybody's sort of watching the same thing at the same time. On Sunday night, on CBS, you're watching. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a really good show for you tonight. You're going to like this young man. He comes to us from Tupelo, Mississippi. By way of Memphis, Tennessee, he uses 3 chords and 5 notes, ladies and gentlemen. And he sticks his arm out and the kid goes, "Going for the money, for the show. You get it right now, go, cat, go. Those are my blue suede shoes. You can do the things of my blue suede shoes. Whoa, blue suede shoes, blue suede shoes, blue suede shoes. You can do enough for yourself, my blue suede shoes." Thank you very much.
Thanks for only watching from the waist up. We appreciate that.
Now, people don't understand the impact of an Elvis Presley or a Chuck Berry on a segregated South. You had black kids who wanted to be Elvis and white kids who wanted to be Chuck Berry. And for some reason, Little Richard, but that's another story. But they started listening to each other's music well before their parents allowed them to do so. So by the time you got to the mid-60s, you could have 5 good-looking black kids touring from Detroit in a segregated gymnasium, a rope down the middle to keep the white kids and the black kids from dancing together. But when those kids heard those 5 notes and heard what those kids did with those 5 notes, they tore down the rope and danced together. I got sunshine on a cloudy day. When it's cold outside, I got the month of May. What was singing? Well, I guess you say what can make me feel this way, my girl, my girl, talking about my girl, ooh.
That's my favorite part of the whole show.
So when your kids ask you why this music is important, go over to the stereo, take out a Sun House record, and put it on the turntable, if you still got a turntable, and say, "Listen to this. What would happen if Sun House did it once instead of twice and played with the tempo you'd end up with?" I got a letter this morning, how do you ring it, it said, "Hurry, hurry, cause the gal you love is dead. You know I packed up my suitcase, took her down the road. When I got there, she was laying out on the cooling board. I eased up closer and I looked down in her face and said, hey, you know I love you, but I just can't take your place. It seemed like 2,000 was standing around the funeral ground. I didn't know how much I loved that day. They put my baby in the ground for my own. And then I walked away and said, hey, you know I love you, have to see you another day. I woke up this morning, it was about to break a day, and I was hugging on a pillow where my baby used to lay. You know I went to church, back down. I tried to pray, but the blues come along and they blow my spirit away. Woke up this morning about the break of day, and I was hugging on a pillow where my baby used to lay and saying, hush. I thought I heard her call my name, she didn't call so loud. out what she calls so plain. Yeah, boy.
Hey everybody, and welcome to Trust the Song, My Life in Folk Music. I'm Matt Watroba, and for over 40 years I've shared the music I love with anyone who would listen. I've done this as a radio host and producer, as a writer, and through thousands of live performances across the United States and Canada. Recent events have made it nearly impossible for me to bring these songs to you in a live setting, so I'm bringing them to you on video, 3 tunes at a time. These are songs I've written as well as songs I've loved enough to commit to memory. Each and every one has helped me shape who I am as an artist, as a human being, and as a custodian of this thing we call folk music. More than anything, I've learned how to trust the song. For the past several years, and thanks to my friend Reggie Harris, I've had the honor and the privilege to be a song leader for the Living Legacy Project. No 2 trips are the same, but they all involve traveling through Mississippi and Alabama aboard a bus full of folks from, well, just about everywhere. Over several days, we tour iconic stops along the Civil Rights Trail. More importantly than that, we hear stories firsthand from the brothers and sisters and fathers and mothers and soldiers who were there, who lived through the movement and are eager to share their story. Singing gives folks hope and strength and a sense of unity. Singing, in many ways, fueled the movement. Let's start with the way I often start each day on the pilgrimage, with this song. I'm on my way up to Canaan land. I'm on my way up to Canaan land. I'm on my way up to Canaan land. I'm on my way, glory, hallelujah, Lord, I'm on my way. It's a mighty hard road, but I'm on my way. It's a mighty hard road, but I'm on my way. It's a mighty hard road, but I'm on my way. I'm on my way, glory, hallelujah, Lord, I'm on my way. I'm on my way, glory, hallelujah, Lord, I'm on my way. Well, if you won't go, don't you hinder me. Well, if you won't go, don't you hinder me. Well, if you won't go, don't you hinder me. I'm on my way, glory, hallelujah, Lord, I'm on my way. I'm on my way, glory, hallelujah, Lord, I'm on my way. Paul and Silas were bound in jail, had nobody for to go their bail. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. The only thing that we did wrong was staying in the wilderness too long. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. The only thing that we did right was the day we began to fight. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. Sing it with me. Hold on, hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize, hold on. I
got my hand on freedom's plow. Won't take nothing for my journey now. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Keep your eyes on the prize. Hold on. I'm on my way up to Canaan land. I'm on my way up to Canaan land. I'm on my way up to Canaan land. I'm on my way, glory, hallelujah, Lord, I'm on my way. I'm on my way, glory, hallelujah, Lord, I'm on my way. I'm on my way, glory, hallelujah, Lord, I'm on my way.
So many of the songs from the movement were reworked spirituals familiar to most at the time. The words and rhythms would constantly change to fit the situation, making it a perfect example of the folk process in action. Every pilgrimage I participated in started in Birmingham, Alabama, where we would visit the 16th Street Baptist Church. That's where those 4 little girls lost their lives in a bombing while they were getting ready for choir practice. Right across the street is Kelly Ingram Park, the site of numerous large-scale demonstrations where dogs and fire hoses were unleashed on protesters as young as grade school students. It astonishes me that through all of this, the songs remain hopeful.
I'm gonna sit at the welcome table. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days, hallelujah. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. I'm gonna taste that milk and honey. I'm gonna taste that milk and honey one of these, hallelujah. I'm gonna taste that milk and honey. I'm gonna taste that milk and honey one of these days. Sing it with me. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table. Oh, I'm gonna sit at the welcome table one of these, hallelujah. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. I'm gonna tell God how you treat me. I'm gonna tell God how you treat me one of these, hallelujah. I'm gonna tell God how you treat me. I'm gonna tell God how you treat me one of these days. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table. Oh, I'm gonna sit at the welcome table one of these, hallelujah. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table. I'm gonna sit at the welcome table one of these days. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Sing it out now. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. I strongly recommend you check out these powerful pilgrimages offered by the Living Legacy Project. You won't be the same person when you get home. As many of you know, I also have the honor and privilege of working with the Reverend Robert Jones. I thought I'd end this episode with a song I wrote after a weekend of performances I did with Robert on Martin Luther King's birthday weekend several years ago. The video was put together by the Y Arts in Detroit, and I'm accompanied by the Y Arts Choir. This is Shine Right Through the Dark. Martin Luther, I am here to march and sing right through this fear. I will hold these candles proud and hope to light a spark. Martin Luther, hear my prayer. I am here and I declare love will drive the hate away and shine right through the dark. I wasn't there in 55 when Rosa took that fearless ride. Couldn't stand outside the jail singing free at last. I wasn't there that awful day they took those choir girls away. I couldn't see their mother's eyes or hear the wicked blast. But Martin Luther, I am here to march and sing right through this fear. I will hold this candle proud and hope to light a spark. Martin Luther, hear my prayer. I am here and I declare love will drive the hate away and shine right through the dark. In Little Rock, they took a stand. I wasn't there to hold her hand or feel the cold and evil stare she felt as she walked by. I couldn't feel the summer breeze that blew across the southern trees where nooses hung for all to see. I wasn't there to cry. But Martin Luther, I am here to march and sing right through this fear. I will hold this candle proud and hope to light a spark. Martin Luther, hear my prayer. I am here and I declare love will drive the hate away and shine right through the dark. I wasn't there in 63, but your dream's still alive in me. 200,000 marched back then, even more now beat the drum. I wasn't there in 68 when the sin of violence sealed your fate. I couldn't hear the mournful cries of we shall overcome. But Martin Luther, we are here to march and sing right through our fear. We will hold these candles proud and hope to light a spark. Martin Luther, hear our prayers. We are here and we declare love will drive the hate away and shine right through the dark. Love will drive the hate away and shine right through the dark.
Man, my favorite story. I got a lot of them, but I think my favorite story might be how Blind Willie Johnson aimed high. It's a curious title. But Blind Willie Johnson was a great singer of spirituals, one of the greatest sanctified singers in American history. Not only was he a great singer, but he was a phenomenal guitarist. Blind Willie Johnson came from Beaumont, Texas, and used to sit out on the streets of Galveston and play the guitar, especially with a slide. It was kind of wonderful because he came from that tradition of the spiritual. Before there was something called gospel, there was the spiritual. And if you were moaning, those ladies would be moaning with you like, mm-hmm. And since you couldn't get all those ladies in the car, especially if you were a blind man, you needed something like a guitar. And Blind Willie could sit out on the street corner and sing those songs and make a lot of money, but also save a lot of souls. He had songs like, I Know His Blood Can Make You Whole. Jesus' blood will make you whole if you touch the hem of his garment. Jesus' blood will make you whole. I was a sinner just like you, but I touched the hem of his garment. Jesus' blood had made me whole. I was sick and I couldn't get well. I was sick and I couldn't get well, but I touched the hem of his garment. Jesus' blood had made me whole. Jesus' blood can make you if you touch the hem of his garment. Jesus' blood will make you whole. And those are the kind of songs that old Blind Willie would sing out on the streets of Galveston. And he got to the point where he became pretty famous. Columbia Records would pick him up, send a driver for him, and he'd go and to the Columbia studios and make records. Came to a point, in fact, where he was playing out on the street one time and a lady was listening. And she was just, listening hard. And even though you're blind, you know when there's a lady listening. And somehow he made his presence known to her. And she told him that she liked his guitar. And he told her, thank you. And she asked him if he was hungry. And he said, yeah. And she took him home and made him some nice gumbo and broke up the claws of the lobster so he could get at it. And it must have been really good because he turned around and asked her to marry him and she said yeah. And all of a sudden he had a partner. I myself invested money in rings and watches and perfume. I should have just met a woman who was making lobster and just proposed right then. But Blind Willie was an amazing character. And, when you really think about it, he wasn't born blind. He was blinded because some woman was angry at his father and threw lye in a little boy's eyes. And he was blind ever since. But in spite of that, he never let it stop him. Never let it stop him from singing those sanctified songs and always trying to be the best that he could be. And when I think about Blind Willie Johnson, my favorite tune by him is a song called Dark Was the Night and Cold Was the Ground. I didn't know that there were lyrics to it. When I first heard it, I was at the Detroit Public Library and E. Azalea Hackley collection, this woman named E. Azalea Hackley who collected all of this amazing, groundbreaking African-American music. And she donated that collection to the library. And in those days, you didn't have the luxury of the CD or the website or any of that stuff. You had to go to the library and you signed that you wanted to hear Blind Willie Johnson and they put you in this little chair and they put these little ridiculous headphones on your ears and the lady came and put the record on the turntable for you. And so that was the first time I heard Blind Willie Johnson through the crackles and through the hiss of the record. And he played something like this. That's all there was that moan. He recorded that song in 1929. And I thought there had to be words. And over the years, I started looking for the words, and I finally found them in an old Baptist hymnal. And it goes like this. Dark was the night, cold the ground on which the Lord was laid. Drops of sweat like blood ran down in agony he prayed. Father, please move this bitter cup. It's such thy sacred will. If not, I'm content to drink it up. Thy purpose to fulfill. Whenever I hear that song, it reminds me of my pastor, the late Pastor James Robinson, who always told us in stories and in sermons to aim high. In fact, he had a story he used to tell around graduation time. And now that I pastor that church, I have to tell this story. Whenever I have graduating seniors, they come and say, Rev, tell us the story that Rev used to tell. I said, y'all don't want to hear that old story. Say, yes, we do. So I get to tell them the story of the possum and the rabbit. Seems a long time ago there was a little boy from deep in the woods. And his daddy always told him, no matter what you do, son, always aim high. And that boy was about to go away to school for the first time, first one in his family to go away to college. And the night before he was supposed to leave, his father took him aside. He said, now you know what I told you, don't you? He said, yes, sir. What did I tell you? He said, you told me always aim high. He said, that's right, boy. And that way, even if you miss what you aiming at, you're going to hit something good. He said, thank you, Daddy. So you know we're proud of you, don't you, boy? I said, yes, sir. So you know what I want you to do? He said, what's that? I said, I want you to get up in the morning, take that old single barrel shotgun and go shoot your daddy a possum. Well, it's not my favorite kind of food, but I guess when you got a taste for possum, nothing but possum will do. So the boy made him a promise. Said, I'll go find your possum, Daddy. But before the boy could make it back to the bedroom, his mama caught up with him and she said, son, you know we're proud of you, don't you? He said, thank you, Mama. He said, you know what I want you to do? She said, what, Mama? He said, I want you to get up in the morning and take that old single barrel shotgun and bring your mama a big fat fine rabbit and I'm going to make you rabbit and gravy. He said, okay, Mama. Then he thought all night about how with one shot he was going to bring home Papa that possum and Mama that rabbit. Well, you know what? Early in the morning, even before the sun comes up, the rooster crows down south. You hear him go, and that boy got that old dog, got that shotgun off the wall and loaded his one shell and went hunting. And within about a half an hour, Rev said that he had treated the finest, biggest, fattest possum you ever saw. And he was about to take a bead on it, and then he thought about Mama. Mama wants a rabbit. And then he looked at the base of the tree, and as luck would have it, at the base of the tree was the finest, biggest, fattest rabbit you ever saw. The boy was conflicted. How do I bring home Papa, that coon, and Mama, or Papa that possum, and Mama that rabbit? And he got a bead on the possum, and the bead on the rabbit, and the bead on the possum, and the bead on the rabbit. And he knew if he didn't do something pretty soon, he was going to lose them both. That's when he remembered the words of his father: no matter what you do, son, always aim high. So he got a bead on that possum, and he let old Bessie go. And as luck would have it in these kind of stories, you know that fallen possum fell and killed that running rabbit. That boy was able to take them both home. And that's the story Red would tell. And it's the truth, whether it happened or not. And when I think about that story, I think about Blind Willie Johnson, who was always aiming high, always singing songs to heaven. Well, as circumstances would have it, in 1949, Willie Johnson's shack caught on fire. They were able to get the shack out, but he had nowhere to sleep but on that wet bedding. And he contracted a bad cold, and that turned into pneumonia. And they got him to the hospital, but the hospital wouldn't take him. Not because he was black, but because he was blind. And they thought he couldn't take care of himself. And 3 days later, Blind Willie Johnson passed away from pneumonia. They buried him in an unmarked grave. But did I tell you Blind Willie always aimed high? It was decades later that some men from NASA came. And they said, we're going to put up something called the Voyager. And on the Voyager is the golden record. The golden record has the best things on earth. Bach and Beethoven and Brahms. The golden record, as is Johnny B. Good. But right in the middle of that golden record was Blind Willie Johnson singing Dark Was the Night, Cold Was the Ground. And on a warm summer night, if you listen quietly, you can hear Blind Willie moaning. Because when it comes to aiming high, can't do too much better than the Voyager. You hear it going. Thank you.
This is a song that Robert wrote that I absolutely love. We wanted to make sure with our time left that we're able to show you at least some of the branches that we've contributed. These are a couple of original songs that we've written. You can tell the little story behind this one. You know, it's just amazing how these grand events will lead to artistic expression.
Well, we've had a lot of grand events in
Yes,
2020,
indeed.
and I suspect that some great songs are going to come out of these events. But something that happened like 20 years ago, which was one of those events where you know exactly where you were when this particular thing happened. I'm talking about the fall of the towers in New York. And all of a sudden, we were in this surreal time, and no planes were flying, and people were talking about joining the military. Folks who had not even thought about patriotism started to think about it. Men and women were really getting on board planes to go fight an enemy. We didn't know who the enemy was. But during that time, I remember I was reading a story in Genesis, and it was about Jacob, who had wronged his brother, and And, then he had gone off and he had acquired family and he had acquired a cattle, and all of a sudden he had become a family man, a stable man. And his brother was coming to kill him. His brother was coming with 400 armed men. And so Jacob did the best he could to send his family on ahead, figured that he would intercept his brother and do whatever he could to stop him. But that night before his brother got there, they said that Jacob, wrestled with a being. He didn't know what or who the being was until they wrestled all night. And the morning broke, and the being said to him, "Let me go, for the day is breaking." And that's when he realized he was wrestling with an angel. And Jacob told the angel, "I will not let you go until you bless me." So the angel touched him in the hollow of his thigh. And he, from that day forward, walked with a limp as he was marked by that battle. But he also gave him a new name. He says, "No longer will your name be called Jacob, but you will now be called Israel," which means, among other things, he who wrestles with God and prevails. And so this is a song that made me, or a story that made me think about this song called "I Wrestle with the Angel." And the chorus is simply, "And I wrestle with the angel all night long. And I wrestle with the angel all night long. And I wrestle with the angel all night long. And I wrestle with the angel all night long. Like Jacob in the wilderness, I don't know wrong or right, but I look to God in heaven to get me through this wicked night. For when my brother comes to kill me, all that I can see is that I must do unto him before he can do unto me. And I wrestle with the angel all night long. And I wrestle with the angel all night long. And I wrestle with the angel all night long. And I wrestle with the angel all night long. Now grace is still amazing, but for him who will not see, he says that grace that brought you safe thus far don't mean a thing to me. And I don't hate you for your actions, your name I barely knew. I hate you for what our father did a long, long time ago. And I wrestle with the angel all night long. And I wrestle with the angel all night long. And I wrestle with the angel all night long. And I wrestle with the angel all night long. And when you wrestle with the angel, the fight might leave you lame. But if you hold on till the morning, the Lord will change your name. Oh, the Lord will change your name. And when my brother comes to kill me, I hope he'll understand how much I'd rather meet him man to man than to beat him hand to hand. But as he comes against our families, I know we'll have to fight. Sometimes war is what you have to do, but that don't make it right. And I wrestle with the angel all night long. And I wrestle with the angel all night long. And I wrestle with the angel all night long. And I wrestle with the angel all night long. So like Jacob in the wilderness, when we grapple through the night, don't let go without the blessing that comes with the morning's light. For when Jacob met his brother, they both put aside the sword, and they called him by his new name, he who wrestles with the Lord. And I wrestle with the angel all night long. And I wrestle with the angel all night long. And I wrestle with the angel all night long. And I wrestle with the angel all night long. And when you wrestle with the angel, the fight might leave you lame.
like you? Is it deeper? Is it stronger? Something hidden, something true. If I stare a little longer, will I see myself in you? Could you love me if I don't look like you? Could you love me if I don't think like you? Is it deeper? Is it stronger? Something hidden, something true. If I stare a little longer, will I see myself in you? Could you love me if I don't think like you? This life's a burning candle, and it would be a shame if we ignored the difference between the smoke and the flame. Could you love me if I don't pray like you? Is it deeper? Is it stronger? Something hidden, something true. If I stare a little longer, will I see myself in you? Could you love me if I don't pray like you? This moment is a miracle, so why not find a way to be here and be grateful that we share another day? Could you love me if I don't love like you? Is it deeper? Is it stronger? Something hidden, something true. If I stare a little longer, will I find myself in you? Could you love me if I am not like you?